It is bright as heck, but we committed, so here we go. Hello, my name is Marissa. I am a registered dietitian and I am about to change your life. And I can say that with confidence because my life was completely changed when I sought out the information to heal my painful periods naturally, and I want to share all of that information with you. So this first video will be just a story time of my painful period journey, how I went from completely debilitating, terrible periods for a literal decade to now having completely not just pain-free periods, but symptom-free periods. So let's get right into it. It all started when I was 13 years old. I got my first ever period. We all have our crazy period story. Mine wasn't that crazy. I got mine in the 8th grade bathroom stall, and I was having pain that day, but it wasn't anything terrible until the next day when I literally couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't go to school. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I really hope it's not like this every month. Newsflash, it was actually worse. I would have to cancel plans. I wouldn't be able to go to school. Once I started working, I would have to call in sick to work every first day of my period, or really try my best to manage with painkillers, although frankly, they didn't really help the first or second day of my period at all. So in 10th grade, I attended a high school that had a medical magnet program, and I knew back then that I was going to be in the healthcare field. I just didn't know kind of what route to go with that. One of the days, I walked up to my 7th period teacher, who I thought would be like this wizard who knew everything about women's health. I asked her, hey, is it normal to throw up and almost pass out from my period every month? She said, well, it does, it can happen, but it goes away with time. Don't worry. It did not go away. I continued to have such bad periods that I would be on the toilet and I would literally see spots and think I was going to pass out. At least twice a year would actually throw up from the pain. And I am an emetophobic. I am terrified of throw up. I can't see it, smell it, hear it, and of course I hate doing it myself. So imagine having the worst periods known to man, also throwing up on top of that. I just thought I was dying. There were moments where I would be in bed screaming to the point where my parents thought that they would have to take me to the emergency room. To anybody that could ever say, oh, you were faking it, absolutely not. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, the pain level that I would experience on day 1 and 2 of my period every single month was a level 10. I would have to take a leave. A leave was the only thing that kind of worked, but what would happen was the earlier I got my period in the morning, the more painful it would be. So if I got like an 8 a.m. period, it would be excruciating. But if I got a 5 a.m. period, I literally would think I was dying. There were nights that I would wake up completely in the middle of the night in excruciating pain, run to the bathroom, try and pop in a leave. It got to the point where I would have to be kind of proactive and take a painkiller the night before I thought I would get my period. Sometimes I'd be right, sometimes I'd be wrong, and then other times I would just forget because I lived such an intense, fast-paced lifestyle, like so fast-paced, think like adult career, but I was a child. I was constantly on the go, always working weekends. If I wasn't working, I was in school, and if I wasn't in school, I was at dance practice. So I had a very, very busy schedule, and I would just forget that I was going to get my period, and a lot of the times I couldn't even be that proactive with it. But a leave would work probably about 20 minutes after the onset of the pain. I would writhe in agonizing pain. I couldn't sit still. It was absolutely exhausting to the point where I would have to sleep all day on those days that I had really bad pain because it would drain the life out of me. In 2020, I got on hormonal birth control. It was around that time I had just been dating my then partner, and I figured, okay, this is the natural progression of things. It's just time that I get on birth control. Really what it did was it masked the symptoms and gave me other symptoms to replace it with. So I remember in the first week of having the hormonal birth control, I had stayed up all night from a pounding migraine, and I had never had a migraine in my life before. I would take a painful period over a migraine any day of the week. Started at 7 p.m. and it lasted until 7 a.m. And finally at 7 a.m. I threw up, and that's what allowed the migraine to kind of like break and subside. Painkillers didn't help, and I continued to have migraines every single weekend for a year. And I say weekend because I know all of my weekend plans were constantly ruined because I would have to lay in the dark by myself in my room. So I did that for a year before I realized I could absolutely not take it anymore. I also noticed for the very first time in my life, I would get hormonal acne. Now, I always had like tiny little bumps on my forehead. That was all throughout my adolescence, my teenage years. And then in college, after I started hormonal birth control, I got this terrible hormonal acne all on my chin. And then it migrated to my forehead too. It was just like anytime I would touch my face, it would be painful. So I dealt with that for years after I got off the hormonal birth control. So that effect lasted, and it also destroyed my gut health. I think I always had a little bit of a sensitivity to soy, but it completely exacerbated the problem. About 6 months into taking hormonal birth control, I could no longer tolerate the foods that I loved. I would be running to the bathroom after basically anything I ate. I would wake up bloated. I'd be bloated and gassy and in pain all the time. It was just another beautiful side effect. And sure, I didn't have painful periods, but they were heavy because I took the placebo pills essentially that 1 week every single month, and I would bleed so excessively. I was running through pads like nobody's business, and I just got to the point where I didn't feel like swapping my normal symptoms for worse symptoms. My mood also was just, I was just so irritable, did not feel like myself at all. But once I stopped that, that's around the time when I started to research actual hormone health, women's health, things that I don't feel like they really taught us in school about our cycles, like what the follicular phase is, what hormones are high during that time, what's low during that time. I started to really look into how to heal my painful periods naturally. I truly didn't know if there was a solution to it. At this time, I was well on my way to becoming a registered dietitian, but I had been dealing with some really intense family issues and just the graduating to then going right into a full-time internship. I was so stressed out. On top of this, I'm getting off of hormonal birth control. So it took probably 6 to 8 months for me to get my regular periods back and in a normal rhythm. At first, they were super irregular coming back, and then around that 6-month mark, the pain started to come back, and I was very disappointed. I had been drinking teas, herbal teas that I would make myself. I thought I ate healthy. I was exercising a bunch. I was doing all of the right things. It didn't make a dent in my symptoms. It didn't help at all. So this was like 2021 going into 2022, and I was having just the worst time. I was feeling so discouraged that I actually went to a gynecologist, and I'm thinking like I must have cysts or fibroids or something causing these painful periods, because there's no way I am dealing with this for another decade. All she did was recommend that I get back on hormonal birth control and referred me to a doctor to talk about excision surgery, which is what you do to diagnose endometriosis, because I'm looking at the symptoms of endometriosis and I'm like, I have every single one of these things. I hate surgery and I really didn't want to go through that. Plus, I didn't have health insurance at the time. It was like a $10,000 surgery. So I'm like, you know what? That enough was incentive for me to figure out how to heal naturally. I just thought that meant taking a lot of supplements and drinking a lot of herbal teas, just like these natural remedies to try and subside the pain. And yes, some of that worked. It worked to a point, but I still had painful periods. They just weren't as debilitating. It probably went from like a 10 out of 10 pain to like a 7 or 8 out of 10 pain. Not enough to make a significant improvement in my quality of life, and I still felt like I was desperately searching for answers. All right, hold on. This is where it gets good. That is a beautiful sunset. So now we're into 2022. This continued into 2023. I'm now a dietitian. I'm helping women heal their gut health and improve their hormonal imbalances. And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. I still have hormonal acne. I still have some gut issues, but I'm solving them. And I'm still having these painful periods. But like this is just something that I just have to get surgery for if I really want to get better. But a small part of me was like, you know what? I really have hope. I have hope that one day I can just bleed. I started to notice more and more that the symptoms that I was experiencing, almost every other woman I had talked to also experienced very similar things. So I knew I wasn't alone. And in 2023, I moved to St. Pete. I bought a house down there, started my adult life. Like, I'm no longer in college. I don't have the stress of school. I've been a dietitian long enough to get my bearings, so to speak, have a pretty consistent flow of clients. 2023 was pivotal for me because yes, I was still doing the herbal teas. I was still eating well, but a couple really big things changed. For one, I met a woman named Marissa, and she introduced me to pole dance. I was still pretty heavy weightlifting, but I had just gotten this big guy that's in the back seat. He was a puppy at the time. He's still a puppy now, but he was like small, and trying to adjust to having a puppy, I was naturally strength training less. And then once I found out about pole dance, I was instantly intrigued. I had been a dancer growing up, but something about it, just the aspect of it being strength training in a sense, core strength, balance, and flow, and like that feminine expression. I started to do that. I got a pole like a month after she told me about it. I started taking lessons from her, and I also started to explore more movement that wasn't so high intensity, like strength training, like really heavy cardio. I started to soften a little bit and pull back with my wellness. I just wanted to strength train to get bigger muscles. That's all I cared about. Then I kind of scaled back to just moving in ways that made me happy, not really having an agenda behind it. And I think that changed a lot for my nervous system. Once I started adopting those habits, this was kind of in the summer or fall of 2023. I also just immersed myself in community. Prior to that, I didn't really know what that meant because I was posting content on social media, so I had like an online community, but I never really prioritized really close female friendships and getting out in community with other people who are like you. And I started to do that when I moved to St. Pete. I met some incredible women, and I started to forge really sacred, like close female friendships that I felt like I missed out on so much in my childhood. I was like, I just can't be friends with girls. I'm a guy's girl, whatever. All my friends are guys. And that was kind of like my thing. It was probably because I had a really interesting relationship with my mom growing up. And there was a period of 2.5 years during all of this was going down between 2021 and 3/4 of the way through 2023 that I had not been talking to my mother. In October of 2023, I reached out to my mom and I rekindled the relationship in a new way, though, in a way that I didn't place any unnecessary expectations on her, and I accepted her for who she is. And that was extremely healing. Through nurturing that relationship, I was also able to nurture the relationship with all women that I really loved and cared about. Between that, getting into community, and moving in ways that made me happy, and really prioritizing more feminine-based movement styles, my nervous system regulated. It was in times of deep reflection that I realized that for all of my childhood and early adult life that I actually heavily resented my body for what it was doing to me every single month. I realized I just don't resent it anymore. And I'm thankful and I'm appreciative of everything that it does for me on a daily basis. The ability to allow me to move, allow me to breathe, allow me to get up every day and do what I love to do. I just started to appreciate my body more. And through that as well, it allowed me to soften. My mindset for my entire life was, I'm the only one that can take care of me. I have to be hyper independent. I have to be go, 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 because if I'm not, I have no one else to rely on. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed and to be perfect. I was a hardcore perfectionist, had to plan out every single step of my life to a T, no matter what. I was super OCD. I had tons of anxiety. I would have panic attacks on the weekly. Once I switched my mindset to no longer say, I don't have anybody to rely on, to I can safely rely on others and people will not let me down. Now, granted, sometimes people still do. It's whatever. But I can learn to let that go instead of hold grudges now. So there was just a lot of different mental shifts that I had that allowed me to soften, to open up, to be more vulnerable with people, to nurture those female friendships and not resent my body. And that did everything for me. So it was the summer and fall of 2023 that those my mind started to shift around my self-beliefs, like what I truly believed about myself and how I had to show up in the world. I was so in my masculine energy that I suppressed my feminine energy my entire life. It was then when I was able to make peace with my femininity, move in ways that expressed that, get into community with other women, share my experiences, and just not take life so seriously and be so critical of myself all the time, that in December of 2023, exactly a year ago, I had my first ever symptom-free period. During the fall, it was getting a little better, but still 6 out of 10 pain, 5 out of 10 pain. The bloating went away, then the acne went away, and then all of a sudden, my period, I just bled. And that was it. I can't even describe the way that made me feel and the disbelief. I was like, nope, this is a fluke. This is too good to be true. I don't know what's happening. And then it happened again and again and again. And it's been a year. And every single month this year in 2024, I have had a symptom-free period. No headaches, no back pain, no fatigue, no acne flare-ups, no bloating. It is so incredible. So yes, diet had a role to play. Movement had a role to play. Prioritizing sleep. I always prioritized my sleep, but it was the community aspect, healing the relationship with my mother, and just nurturing that feminine side of me that I had forgotten about for so long. I would laugh at girls who would get their nails done or listen to One Direction in middle school. I didn't want to be viewed as girly. I didn't want to just be one of the girls. I thought women were catty, pretentious, cliquey, but none of that was true. That was just the lies I was telling myself. And because of those lies, I would attract women into my life that had those qualities, and then it would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And now I realize that that's not true, and I love women, and that is why I have a thriving online community of women who are looking to build confidence, heal their femininity, and achieve true hormone balance. So how does all of this relate? What is the common denominator? What can I say in just a couple of words that sums up how I was able to achieve symptom-free periods? That is thrival mode. I got out of survival mode and I stepped into what I like to call thrival mode. I constantly had stress hormones flowing through my body. I had such high estrogen that it would cause prostaglandins to be in way too high of amounts in my body during my period. And when you have too high of prostaglandins, you have more intense period cramps and other symptoms related to your period. So my period pain was directly linked to stress. And now I've learned ways to reduce and eliminate a lot of stressors in my life and improve my body's resilience to stress, my body and my mind's resilience to stress. Because let's be honest, a lot of the stress I was under was self-inflicted. It was all in my head. Everything I would do had to be stressful. Driving to the beach to watch the sunset from my car with my dog would have been stressful. And now I am so at peace. Through this experience, I've also found the Lord, and that has helped me. Any amount of anxiety that I still had remaining completely washed away, and it is a beautiful place to be. So I am here to tell you 100% without a doubt, if you want to heal from painful periods, or if you want to reverse symptoms of PCOS or PMDD, endometriosis, it is possible. On this channel, I am going to be sharing ways that you can get closer to that goal. This channel is dedicated to all things women's health and healing. I'm going to have a really big emphasis on healing from painful periods. Boy, do I have things to share on that topic. So comment below certain questions that you may have, because I know this is not a super common thing that we talk about, but I do think that it's necessary. And I know that healing is on the horizon for you if you are watching this and you are committed to it. I can't wait to help you on your journey, whether that's from a distance just by watching these videos, or a little bit more up close and personal in my Thrival Mode community or my one-on-one coaching. Either way, I know that you can do this, because it's not just this crazy anecdotal experience that could just happen to me. There is science behind this and why this occurs. In upcoming videos, we'll be talking about nutrition, we'll be talking about movement, all of the different stages and things that will help you heal from your painful periods. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. Thank you for watching for this long. If you did, I don't even know, comment dolphin below, because I'm watching dolphins right now as we speak and it is amazing. Oh my gosh. They're having so much fun. Wait. That is it for today. I just wanted to give you some context on my personal story behind it. You know, like why I'm so passionate about this. I just hope you have an amazing rest of your day, your week, your night, whenever you are watching this. I'm excited for you to achieve healing, and I will see you in the next one.